Hey everyone, Chris and Jason here, REI 360 Show, episode number 17. Here with a very important topic. You make your money when you buy in residential real estate investing. That's a phrase that's been around forever. It's very, very true. We see too many people come into our lending company every day and they're purchasing the property for too much. They're paying too much for the property. They don't realize how much their margins are going to be compressed, possibly even get into a break even or lose money situation. You want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I mean, they buy, usually they're paying too much because it's, we're in a competitive marketplace.
Sure.
And, they probably suck at finding deals.
Right. And not great marketers.
And they're taking on deals that they probably shouldn't take on with the hopes that it's going to work.
Wishful thinking.
As we know, hope is not a strategy. Like we showed last show.
Right.
So, if you're not going to make money, if you don't think you're going to make money on the front end, you're certainly not going to make money on the back end. That's just what's going to happen. You're making your money when you buy in these things. And, there's a rule of thumb in obviously real estate investing. You buy at 65 cents on the dollar minus construction costs. We didn't make this up. Real estate and, experts didn't make it up. It's just a fact.
And that's 65% of what you plan to resell the property for.
That's right.
65% of that number minus what you plan to spend on construction equals what you can pay.
Exactly, because that 35% equity cushion, I will tell you, gets eaten up extremely quickly, and we're going to go over, a quick case study to show you this.
Yep.
So, example: you buy this thing, you buy a property that's going to be worth about $200,000, and 130 is 65% of that, and your purchase price, let's say it's $30,000 in construction costs. Okay. So you'd have to buy it at $100,000. So 100 plus
130 minus 30 is 100.
Exactly.
That's what you have to buy.
Exactly. So 100 purchase. 30 construction is 130, with 200 resale. All of a sudden, you got some lending costs on the front end. Let's say you're using a lender, 5% there, another 5% trans, rec, title insurance, some taxes, some insurance, some other stuff there. You have holding costs, maybe 2% for utilities and some other stuff, which a lot of people forget about, as well as let's call it 1% a month for 6 months, so 6% for lender interest, things like that. And I mean, you can finagle these numbers based on where the money's coming from if you're using it in cash. But for the most part, that 130 all of a sudden just turned into like 155.
Wow.
Just like that. And most of those costs really are not controllable. So, you have. You had a perceived, $70,000 in gross margin, which is down to about, maybe $45,000 at this point. Now, taking consideration that there's costs on the back end, you have to pay a real estate agent
when you're selling
4%, 5%, 6%, plus another 1.5%, 2% based on where you are for transfer tax, some stuff like that. So you got another, call it $13,000 in the back end right there. And, so that 45 now turns into 35. So now you have, this is factual. You have $35,000 in profit, best case scenario.
Best case scenario on a $200,000 resale.
Exactly. Assuming construction costs don't go over budget, which they typically do, because everybody makes those numbers a little bit more rosy than they truly are.
Right. And
this also doesn't take in consideration seller subsidy, which in this market there is typically seller subsidy given, which could be another 3%. So best case scenario, like we talked about, you're at $35,000, which is a good return.
It's a great return
on these types of numbers. It's a good return if you're using your own cash, if you're using someone else's cash, 100% of their own cash, or even using hard money and you need a little bit of money out of pocket. And yes, the return and the profit is a little bit more if you are using your own cash, but not that much. Now, if you take this and compare it to 75%, you're in for a rude awakening because
first of all, it's hard for people to find. We hear it all the time. Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I would love to buy at 65% of ARV. It's hard to find those deals. Right?
Agreed. But they're out there.
They are out there, especially if you're marketing.
And you got to buy them really damn close to that, because at 75 cents on the dollar, now you're at, let's just say, to make these numbers clean, you're at a $50,000 construction with the same purchase price. Okay. So you're at 150, because 150 at 275%.
Gotcha.
You have a little bit, pretty much the same cost going into it. Same realtor fee on the back, same closing costs on the back. Now your net number that you're all in at is 190. So you have $10,000 profit, not including construction overruns, not including seller subsidy.
Yikes!
If there's a seller subsidy at 3%, you break even. For the most part. So that's at the 75 cents On the dollar. And then you say, well, I only buy cash, or I'm not spending, money to
Let's
lenders.
back up for 1 second. Like, if people need to take into consideration that if those are the numbers they're buying at, and they know this upfront, so you have a crystal ball or something like that, and it's going to be, all right, this is going to take me 5 or so months. I'm going to have to put this kind of risk into it, this kind of time and effort. Would you do it for 10 grand and a $200,000 investment?
No.
I think a lot of people would say no.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months, you should say no on that. So mind you, if using that example Jason just gave, if you are buying at that number, you should consider not doing the deal.
Yeah, and let me say something else related to hard money. So I kind of did like worst case scenario hard money. I did it, I had it as like 5% with all the costs. I had it, 6 months of interest at a point or so a month. That only came out to like $12,000. It was only paying the lender $12,000. So, on that 75 LTV deal, you're doing a best case. If you're doing cash, you're doing best case 10-ish to like 20-ish, right? 6 months of time, best case scenario, didn't include seller subsidy.
Right.
So as you can see, the margins are still really, really thin. So the rule of thumb is you really got to stick to that 65% number. In our, we see a lot of stuff around 70 to 72. And again, 70 will work for the most of the time, and but anything above 72 and pushing to that 75% mark, you're going to be very close to breaking even, best case scenario, and anything above that is just a straight loss. So understand that ahead of time.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys are buying your properties at, if you are able to get 65 cents on the dollar in your market, if 70 works for you, and what you are doing to find these deals. Please comment if you're watching this on YouTube or on any social media. We'll chime in too, and we can help each other out and keep pushing our real estate investing careers forward.
Yep, reach out to us at #therei360show.com. I'm Jason, this is Chris. Peace out.
Thanks.